Welcome everyone to today's video. My name is Dimitrov from the DimitrovBoelee piano duo, and in today's video I wanted to record a little part of my practice. Usually before I go and compose, I practice Etudes by Czerny. I don't know why, it just gives me a certain kind of inspiration, gets me in the mood. It's not too heavy because Etudes are a little bit more distant for me. They are not as heavy emotionally as regular pieces, and so that's why I choose usually to practice them before I compose. And I wanted to record a little part of one of my favorite etudes that I've played quite some as a child, but since then I haven't played Czerny etudes, and so this one I don't even know if I've played it. I read a little bit through the etudes, but there are several things that I want to work on, and I want to demonstrate for you what I want to work on, because I think it can be very useful. In general, you have to keep in mind that Czerny has introduced in his etudes all the different skills that you might need and that you will need when you play regular pieces by Chopin, Liszt, Brahms, etc. He's absolutely fantastic in what he did as different tools that you might need when you play piano. And so I like the music very much, and I will do a little section of this etude because like I said, there are a few things that I'm really unhappy with and I want to improve. And let me show you what it is. First, I will do it a little bit slow. That's how I usually start my practice. This is the etude. This is number 4 from 740 Czerny. Mistake. Always fix your mistakes. What I fix here is that I missed one note. That I consider that a mistake. Until here. Now, when I'm done with slow, that I always recommend to my students is that you always have slow practice in your routine, in your practice routine. It is extremely important to practice slow. Of course, it is also very important to practice faster and really fast as well, but you need to also do slow. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try it in a practice tempo. So this etude, I'm far from ready to perform. This etude, I'm not ready in any way to play it very fast. So my practice tempo now is going to be not super fast, but it's going to be faster than what I showed. So for example, it will be something like this. So this is approximately how I'm going to work on the etude. But now what's even more important is, so first we've got the right tempo to practice. The second thing that's very important is when you know your piece like I do at the moment, for me, what's very important in combination with technically playing it correctly is to have the right musical sound of this etude. Now, Czerny wrote this, but if I do this, as you see, we have, I don't know if you know, if you've ever played this etude, but you have a lot of pieces with similar technique. Now, what we have here is, you might think we have like a demonstrate, but that's one dimension kind of playing. Now, if you get a little deeper into the music and you think what could be more beautiful, you can see that actually we have two different voices. The way that they're written, perhaps we can just put them somewhere on the screen, and you can see you have the upper voice, which is this, but you have also a repetitive note, and that note is F in the beginning. Then later in bar 3, that repetitive note becomes B flat, and later goes to F again. And so what we can do here, and that's one of the most difficult things in this etude, is because I can simply machine gun it like, and that isn't going to sound musical in any way, and it's going to not sound good. It's not good for my technique. So what makes it really difficult is to distinguish these two voices and to balance them very well. And so you have to have the upper voice that's a little bit more prominent, while the repetitive note has to be as soft as possible. And that's why I'm not practicing very fast, because I will not be able to do it as soft as I would want. If I practice too fast, this repetitive note is going to start getting harder and harder. And so listen with that idea how nice it is to balance the two voices. Now we're transferring to another section of the piece. We have the right hand, which is one voice. That's clear. But what's happening in the left hand, again, we can put something on the screen, is this. And that's the same. Two different voices. The main voice, which is the lower this time, and if you put them together, and we have the repetitive note, which is F in the beginning, and then B flat, which we have to make sure that it sounds as soft as possible in order to get this beautiful. Otherwise we get this. See, it becomes much more noisy, even if I do it softly, but the same volume, the two voices. We don't want to hear that note. That note is very boring. It's just a feeling. It's just something that makes the chord. But what we want to hear is, you see, without this note, the music doesn't sound so full. But with this note too hard, it's also not good. So we want. And so we have to work on that. But that's much easier to do in the left hand, at least for me, than to do this. Because we have double notes in the upper voice. Now, something very practical. So I showed you what I want to work on. Now I will show you something very practical that actually is going to give you results, because this is all, of course, ideas that it's good for you to know, but if you don't know how to do it, you're not going to achieve the desired result. What you have to do is to isolate the upper voice and practice it with the right fingering together with your left hand. I mean, like this. good to do this, and not only with this piece. Again, whatever piece you have by other composers that has similar technique, and there are a lot of pieces that are going to have similar notation, is to teach your ears to listen to what you want to come out as important. Because if you teach your ears to listen to, then you don't have any sophistication in your hearing. You don't hear really what's important. But if you do this, because you're missing the F, after that when you start playing, you will be very disturbed if your F is too loud, and so you will try your best to really to do it as soft as possible. Now, another exercise that you can do is you can put the metronome if that's not too difficult for you, and if you have the metronome, you have something like, and that would be a fantastic exercise. So you have the metronome on every 8th note, tap, 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 and you get something like, it's a little bit difficult for me to be in my own metronome and play at the same time, but you get the idea. So these two exercises are going to give you great results, because you teach from one side yourself to play the upper voice, and then you work on being able, on actually not the downbeat but on the upbeat, to be able to play this repetitive note soft. And then when you do this exercise a couple of times, try in a practice tempo, not too fast. Even I feel that after such a short amount of showing you something, I feel that my approach is already getting better. Of course, that's not going to work very fast. I have to really deliberately spend a good amount of time working like this, but I already feel that I'm listening in a different way, simply because I'm involved in working on this. So do that several times, then try in a fast tempo. You can also try in your fastest. Sometimes what I do is I would try in the fastest tempo that I can, more or less fastest that I can play, to see what my result is. And that would be something. So you remember, I have my slow, then I have my practice tempo, and then sometimes I would try to see how far can I get. But I am not going to do this more than once or twice. That's what I always tell my students. This is simply to see how far you are. Imagine you're a sportsman, a football player, or whatever. You are not going to play matches all the time. You play matches, you do high intensity at the end after practicing days, right? You have training and so on, and you play once or twice a week something very fast. Also on the football pitch, for example, they don't play matches every day because you get injured, you get exhausted. So the same is with piano playing. If I do this all the time, my quality is going to become really worse. I'm not going to be able to play good. All this balance that I've been talking about till now is going to be destroyed. And so that's why I always say balance very well what you're doing. Have slow practice, then faster practice, and then have practice that is simply to try and see how far you are. And so anyway, I didn't do a lot of playing, but I was really inspired to show you how I practice this. And now when I finish with this video, I'm going to go and really practice a lot on this. And of course, if any of you is interested to see simply practicing without me blabbering, you can tell us in the comments, and it's not a problem for us to put a camera there and I just practice. But I thought this is very valuable information that's going to help you. So remember, two different things. One, practice your main voices also in the left hand. And then try the exercise with the metronome. Have the metronome and that note has to be as soft as possible. Anyway, if you like this video, don't forget to give us a like, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and if there are any topics that are important to you, anything that you want to know, we'll be very happy to hear back from you. For me, recording this video for you was a great pleasure. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week again.